break of day 7. It's again, Derek Brice hasn't quite finished giving his evidence, so if you're following on the audio stream, we're a bit early, but a 10-minute break, and it's only 10-minute delay and 50-minute break. It's not worth, unless we get on it now. Fuck me. I'm joined by Eveline Lubbers from the Undercover Research Group. Fuck me, Derek Brice. Oh, and I'm also joined by Alison, who's off screen. But argue like hell about coming on. It's like, oh, and you forgot me. Anyway, Derek Brice is fucking useless. He doesn't remember fuck all about nothing. He's like, literally, it was like getting blood out of the stone for him to admit there was a second safe house during his time as manager. He claims that he had no idea there was anything about using dead children's identities, which is a fuck. I think it's too big a lie. I think the facial expressions of Mitting and the lawyers at that point was just like, do you know what I mean? Come on, far too big a lie. But yeah, he just claims to know nothing about nothing. What do you think, Eveline?
I don't have much to add to that. I do think, though, that although he sometimes seems he seems to miss questions or miss that we've moved on. So he's very focused, but I think they hammered it down that he's not supposed to spill beans, to use any names. So though he seems like can't remember, he's not stupid or he's not has lost his wit. He's just very focused on not saying anything. So the first thing that comes into mind is what's yet another sentence to say? I can't recall, I can't remember, not me, not there. It's like we discussed before. It's like that game where you're not allowed to say yes or no, and exactly. Just how many ways are there to say yes or no, or preferably no. There is some body language that is interesting. I'm typing, so I didn't always see it, but at some moments he's folding his arms and leaning back. Did that well, closed up. And sometimes he's leaning forward, and sometimes when he's really quick with saying no, can't remember, there's this faint smile on his face, okay, well done. I won't get you there. And you won't get me. But also, I am under the impression, and that is something Donald brought up, that there is some kind of agreement with the inquiry lawyers that they don't press on. There were so many moments when he actually said more than 3 words, where you would have thought, okay, and please explain, say some more, but then that smile would appear on his face, and they would just move on to the next question, which is a shame, really. I know, there so often you think, okay, there's more to not interrogating, but asking questions about oral history, that you have to listen to what someone says, what he doesn't say, and then move in. Compare this with the pressure that our witnesses are under, continuing harassing with the same question about the same things. Nothing of that at all. Of course, you have to be respectful with other people, blah, blah, blah. But then our witnesses are the same age, so that doesn't make any sense. But there seems to be a pattern where they just ask the questions and are happy with any answer that is given, and non-answers mostly. And they're really missing things, really. It makes you wonder why this witness has been brought in, while there were so many others that are more interesting and have maybe more to tell. But it is difficult to say if he really can't recall or is just trained.
I don't think it's very difficult.
Alison, what do you think?
I'm the kind of naive, gullible one on the team, aren't I? And I don't believe him. So I just think I don't recall, and it is really how many ways can you say I can't remember, I don't recall? That would be fair to say. But I think the bit that really stuck out for me was when he was asked about, were you worried about or were you concerned, given that he was a welfare officer, were you concerned about the robustness of the identities of your officers? And his answer to that, I can't remember exactly what he said.
Not specifically.
It didn't add up with not knowing about how they formed their legend. That didn't make sense. If you're a welfare officer for an undercover unit, surely your biggest priority, which is what they're all freaking out about anyway with the HN numbers, is maintaining their anonymity and maintaining their fake identity. And how can you do that job and not know how they've got their fake identity? That seems to be, out of everything he said, for me, that does not add up. Because that's his job. His job is to, the whole point about this secret squirrel squad is that we are not allowed, the public are not allowed to know who these people are, and therefore their legends have to be watertight and robust. How can he not know how those are formed then? And it doesn't add up with what David Smith said yesterday. Everybody else is saying, yeah, we know about the Day of the Jackal, we know about Somerset House, we know, and there was no real alternative, and, it's not very nice, but for the sake of the greater good, that was what David
said.
The greater good, which, by any means, it's any means necessary for the greater good. Well, that's their position. It's contentious, but that is at least their position. And yet he seems to be saying something else. He seems to be saying, "Oh no,
I never heard of that. Oh no, I definitely not me."
About that. Frederick who? No, never heard of him. So, out of everything I've heard, that was the bit that really sorry, sir, but I don't believe you.
He's lying bastard.
To put that in context, there were 2 or 3 people in that back office, with one of them preparing to go into the field, as they say. How can he not know? Like they were sitting there at this, and there was this weird thing as well that he said, like, you were always together in that office, and he said, as far as I was in there, and then came that smile, and then there was no follow-up question, but then they tuned to the 2 weekly 2 meetings at the safe house, so you would go there. Yes, I would, but they never asked him. He was suggesting that he wasn't at the office all the time. Would have been an opportunity to ask him where else.
What about the stuff with the Jill? What's her name? The
Mostel.
Oh yeah, the 3 officers who were expelled in 1972, end of 72, beginning of 73.
I mean, he was only in post for a year and a half or something, wasn't he? I mean, he was only
but he was acting ahead of the unit on times during that period, on multiple occasions.
The kindest interpretation is to say there's lack of supervision and management, isn't it? That's the most generous interpretation.
But I mean, he is the supervision and management.
That's right. There's lack of it. There's none of it. That's the point.
Well, I mean,
they didn't do their, incompetence. The most generous interpretation is incompetence. Hard to believe, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's completely unbelievable. I mean, it's interesting. He did leave the police force in 1974. I checked him out on Company's House. He's had a number of directorships of various companies. He's obviously had a successful career. He's an intelligent man. He's lying.
Allegedly.
No, he's fucking lying. He's blatantly lying. Everything about what he's doing is a lie. I mean, it's just. I mean, like we're used to all of them lying, but you get the
for the greater good.
Yeah, but I mean, this guy is. I mean, I don't know what the point of going back in now is, to be perfectly honest.
No,
I mean, we need to go back in, by the way. But there is absolutely no fucking point, because he's just going to lie the entire time.
It's 25 degrees outside and sunny.
And it's sunny, yeah, all these things, but tough. We're going back into a dark room to listen to a man lie to us. See you all soon.